At this time, it's my understanding, Mr. Foreperson, that the jury has reached a verdict. Mr. Foreperson, is that correct? Okay. And with that, I just want you folks to know that you all sealed the verdict forms, and so I have with us the verdict forms in an envelope. My staff was instructed to have you put those on seat number 2, just so the record reflects. We have victims' representatives and victims with us utilizing technology. They can hear and see the court right now. My staff has verified all of that. The state of Ohio is present and represented by counsel. Ms. Stefanko is present. So with that, then I would like to have the forms handed to me, please. Thank you very much. At this time, regarding count 15, the jury has found the defendant, Erica Stefanko, guilty of the offense of aggravated murder, signed by all 12, dated the 25th day of November 2020. Count 16, the jury has found the defendant, Erica Stefanko, not guilty of the offense of aggravated murder, signed by all 12, dated the 25th day of November 2020. Count 17, the jurors have found the defendant, Erica Stefanko, guilty of the offense of murder, signed by all 12, dated the 25th day of November 2020. Count 18, the jury has found the defendant, Erica Stefanko, not guilty of the offense of murder. Count 19, the jury has found the defendant, Erica Stefanko, not guilty of the offense of kidnapping. Count 20, the jury has found the defendant, Erica Stefanko, not guilty of the offense of aggravated robbery, signed by all 12 and dated the 25th day of November 2020. Counsel, do you wish to view the verdict forms on behalf of the state of Ohio?
Yes, Your Honor.
Attorney O'Brien? All right, if you folks then would stand. Behind that glass there, very good. Do you see that? Count 15.
Yes, Your Honor.
Count 16. Count 17. Count 18. Count 19. Count 20.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks. You may be seated. Does the state wish to have the jurors polled?
No, Judge, thank you.
Attorney O'Brien, do you wish to have the jurors polled?
Please, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I will just ask if these are your verdicts. You will be just identified as your juror number. I will ask you at this time if count 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 are your verdicts. Juror number 1, is this your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 2?
Yes.
Juror number 3?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 4?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 5?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 6?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 7?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 8?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 9?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 10?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 11?
Yes, it is.
Juror number 12?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you so much. With that then, ladies and gentlemen, here's what will happen just so that you understand the protocol procedurally right now. Number 1, we thank you for your service. My staff right now is going to escort you into Judge McLaughlin's room, and I will be with you shortly. We'll make certain that you are released from the building. We very much appreciate your service at this time. I will tell you also at this time, although no one will approach you until I give authorization, but I will tell you, you are free now to discuss this case with anyone that you choose, although you are not required to do so at all whatsoever. That is your choice. But if you would please wait, my staff will escort you. We'll make sure that you're safe, and I'll be with you in just a few minutes. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
All rise.
Ms. Kiefer, could you bring me my, all right, thanks everyone. You may be seated. Ms. Stefanko, the jury has found you guilty of the charges as articulated on the record. The court hereby finds you guilty of count 15 in accordance with the jurors' findings. Not guilty at this time on count 16, guilty, count 17, not guilty, count 18, not guilty, count 19, not guilty, count 20. Your bond is revoked. We will set this matter for sentencing. Is there anything that the state of Ohio would like to put on the record at this time before we set a sentencing date?
No, Judge, thank you.
Okay. Anything, Attorney O'Brien?
Not at this time, Judge.
All right, thank you. As soon as I have a date to provide to you folks. And again, I do want to note for the record that the victim and victim's representatives were all present. And I do currently have them with me, though. Attorney Adele, if you could just I note that I have Attorney Adele with us. GC is present. Ms. Dennis is present. And I believe the victim decedent's mother is present as well. I have Monday, January 11th available at 2 p.m. for sentencing.
That was Monday.
I'm sorry, Attorney O'Brien, is that acceptable to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
You said January 11th.
Yes, sir. January 11th at 2 p.m. Attorney LaPrenzi, is that acceptable to you?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right,
Yes,
thank you
the
very
state's
much.
good.
So with that then, the court will be in recess. What I'll do is my staff will make certain that the verdict forms are filed immediately. And I thank you for all of your work. The court is now in recess. Thank you.
Okay.
We're done.
You plan on talking to the jury?
I'm sorry?
Do you plan on talking to the jury at all?
No.
We normally do, but.
There you have it. Erica Stefanko found guilty of the aggravated murder of Ashley Biggs. After 3 days of juror deliberations, our jury clock stopped at 14 hours, 39 minutes, and 48 seconds. They spent weighing all of the evidence put forth by the state of Ohio and arrived at the verdict of finding her guilty of the crime of aggravated murder with prior calculation and design, and the crime of murder with a purposeful intent to cause a death. And there were some not guilty verdicts that were read, as you heard, and I understand it can be kind of confusing, and let me explain it to you now. The other aggravated murder that was charged here would have been having to show that the murder occurred while, during, or prior to or after the commission of the felonies of kidnapping or aggravated robbery. And as you saw with that last count, there was a not guilty on the aggravated robbery, on the second to last count, and not guilty on the kidnapping. So that would be consistent that they didn't find that this occurred during the commission of, prior to, or after those crimes. They found that those crimes were not committed. So that verdict to the second count of aggravated murder of not guilty would be consistent. And then with that murder charge, we saw the guilt purposely causing a death. The other type of murder would be a death caused as a proximate result of attempting or committing a kidnapping or aggravated robbery, and that was where the not guilty came in. So at the end of the day, she's guilty on two main counts: aggravated murder, which is one of the lead charges, and the second charge after that would be the crime of murder. So she's looking at a maximum potential sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. You heard Her Honor, Judge Amy Corrigal-Jones, revoking Erica Stefanko's bond, so she will be sitting in jail until January 11th, 2021, when she is sentenced at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Of course, we will be bringing you that. In the meantime, we need to talk more about what just transpired in the courtroom. Let's bring in Court TV's legal correspondent, Chanley Painter.
Hey, Julie, what a moment and what a different type of verdict. This courtroom didn't have the typical friends and family filling the gallery of the reaction. But inside the jury entering, and I always look to see if any of them are trying to look towards the defendant, making eye contact with the defendant. None of them looked towards the defendant as we waited for what seemed like an eternity for the judge and the jury to return into the courtroom for the reading of the verdict. Of course, as the verdict was read, like I said, we don't have the sense of support of the defendant or support of the victim inside this courtroom. So the reading of it was quite stoic. The reaction coming from the defendant hanging her head as the first guilty of the top count of aggravated murder was read against her guilty. Now, the foreperson did stand up to respond to the judge, and we were correct earlier that it was a young man, maybe late 20s, early 30s, dressed sharply. He was the foreperson and handed over these documents to the staff, to the judge, and the verdict was read quite quickly. She was found guilty of aggravated murder and murder, in this case, not guilty of the remaining counts. Now, her sentencing was set for January of next year, so they will have the time to do the pre-sentencing reports, all of the information for the judge, and at that time she would be formally sentenced. And like you said, maximum here is life without the possibility of parole, which is also what her co-defendant, Chad Cobb, is spending right now in prison.
Chanley, we heard the judge mention that the victim was present, the victim being GC, the daughter of victim Ashley Biggs, and Chad Cobb, and also GC's attorney present as well. Any reaction you noticed from her when the decision was read?
They were here virtually, Julie, so we could not see them. We couldn't really see them on the screen or what they could even see in the courtroom, but they were there virtually. This is something that Kimberly Biggs told me they were trying to effort because she lives out of state, because of COVID-19, because there is not room inside the courtroom, in the gallery, for her friends and family to show up and support. And I'm right now receiving text from Ashley Biggs' friends and family that we've spoken to here on Court TV. We have Mariah, who's so happy right now. Ashley has her final and true justice. She texted me that. We have Brandy, who we spoke to the other day. It says it is definitely a relief to hear guilty coming from the judge's mouth. We have Courtney Boswell, who says, I'm in tears. I screamed and jumped up and praising the heavens. I'm on the phone crying right now with Kim Biggs, Ashley Biggs' mother. Thank the universe, Ryan Foster says, who we've also talked to. He says, thank the universe and the prosecutors for everything that they did. We have our justice for our Ashley Biggs. So the friends and family, while they cannot be here in person to speak and to support Ashley Biggs, they are reacting, sending their well wishes and celebrating with everyone now, because this is what they've waited 8.5 years to hear. They heard it with Chad Cobb when he pled guilty. Now they knew this final link for justice for their friend, for their loved one, was guilty for Erica Stefanko.
Oh, and hopefully this verdict today brings them a little bit of comfort and a little bit of peace. Certainly nothing can replace the loss of the friend that they loved. Nothing can bring back Ashley Biggs and put her back in their lives. But hopefully today's decision is just a little bit of justice for them. And really, to sum it up, I tried to explain with these charges how there were some not guilties, but I think probably the most succinct way to say it, and Shanley, please correct me if I'm wrong here, is that this jury didn't believe that a kidnapping took place or an aggravated robbery took place or that this death happened while that was all going on. They just believed that this was a cold-blooded, calculated, designed, aggravated killing.
Yes, the top count, aggravated murder, had that premeditated intent, purpose to kill, the plotting, the planning. This wasn't some felony murder to these jurors. This wasn't, oh, let's kidnap and in the committing a felony, she's murdered. No, they believed that this was purposeful, it was knowingly done, and it was planned out ahead of time by Erica Stefanko under the theory of complicity. Again, prosecutors didn't say she was the actual one who murdered, beat, and strangled Ashley Biggs in 2012, but that she was complicit in a part of the steps of the process every way. And the jury was finally able, after 14 hours, to come to a consensus.